So the best moments for Tim Walz in the debate, you, of course, had the January 6th stuff and the 2020 election denialism. You had the abortion stuff. And the third one, which people aren't talking about as much, but I think it was almost as good as those other moments, is healthcare. Healthcare. I think J.D. Vance did a really, really poor job on the issue of healthcare. As we pointed out, I would have liked for Tim Walz to be a little more aggressive on these things. But here, let's dive into it. We'll start with J.D. Vance talking about healthcare. Here we go.
Replacing the Affordable Care Act. In response, he said, I have concepts of a plan. Since then, Senator, you've talked about changing how chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family members have gotten health care. I believe, members of my family actually got private health insurance, at least for the first time, switched off of Medicaid onto private insurance for the first time under Donald Trump's leadership.
Under Trump, 2 million people lost health insurance in his time in office. 2 million people lost. We went down 2 million. Important fact. I'm going to come back to the pre-existing condition things in a second. Wait for it.
All right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history. I was there at the creation of the ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from a major healthcare state, home of the Mayo Clinic, home to Medical Alley, 3M, Medtronic, all of those. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and quality of healthcare. And so what I know is under Kamala Harris, more people are covered than they have before. And those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one was to repeal Obamacare. On day one, he tried to sign an executive order to repeal the ACA. He signed on to a lawsuit to repeal the ACA, but lost at the Supreme Court. And he would have repealed the ACA had it not been for the courage of John McCain to save that bill. Now, fast forward, what that means to you is you lose your pre-existing conditions. If you're sitting at home and you got asthma, too bad. If you're a woman, probably not. Broke your foot during football, might kick you out. Your kids get kicked out when they're 26. Kamala Harris negotiated drug prices for the first time with Medicare. We have 10 drugs that will come online, the most common ones that'll be there. But look, this issue, and when Donald Trump said, I've got a concept of a plan, it cracked me up as a fourth grade teacher because my kids would have never given me that. But what Senator Vance just explained might be worse than a concept because what he explained is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as simple as possible because I have done this for a long time. What they're saying is, if you're healthy, why should you be paying more? So what they're going to do is let insurance companies pick who they insure because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They figure they're not going to have to pay out to you. But those of you a little older, gray, got cancer, you're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work. Kamala Harris will protect and enhance the ACA.
He killed him on that. In fact, J.D. Vance said in one of his rallies that we want people who are young and healthy to pay a lot less and not have to pay for the people who are older and sick. And it's like, you're arguing against the whole concept of insurance. You need a big risk pool in order for it to be insurance. So he clearly doesn't know the first thing about it, but I want to get back to the pre-existing conditions point because here's the thing. Vance said, oh, yes, we'll have protections for pre-existing conditions. Guys, not only did Trump try to overturn Obamacare, and again, John McCain saved it with the famous thumbs down moment, right? Not only did he try to overturn Obamacare, in 2017, I believe they called it the American Health Care Act. It was referred to as Trump Care. People don't remember this. There was a brief moment where Trump tried to get through his own healthcare reform, Trump Care. Trump was going around the country promoting this bill, and he was saying, we're going to protect your pre-existing conditions. We're going to protect your pre-existing conditions. And then when you actually read the bill didn't do that. The bill overturned protections for pre-existing conditions. To be specific, what it allowed is, it's similar idea to like Roe v. Wade. It's leave it up to the states to determine whether or not the insurance companies in particular states want to protect pre-existing conditions or not. So what would have happened is all of the red states would have gotten rid of protections for pre-existing conditions, and the blue states would have kept the protections. But basically, like half the country would have lost their protections for pre-existing conditions. So as J.D. Vance says, we would protect pre-existing conditions. And Trump was campaigning at the time in 2017, pushing Trump Care, saying, we're gonna protect your pre-existing conditions. The actual text of the bill repealed protections for pre-existing conditions. Guys, I don't know how much more I can say this. I have to get it through to you. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do. So Trump tried to repeal Obamacare. That would have gotten rid of protections for pre-existing conditions. And the bill he pushed, Trump Care, the American Health Care Act, got rid of protections for pre-existing conditions. By the way, I brought this up the other day. There was a poll done by the Kaiser Family Foundation. They'd do healthcare stuff. They did a poll. what percentage of the American public wanted Trump Care, the American Health Care Act, to pass? 8%. 8%. Got rid of protections for pre-existing conditions, and it's the classic, like, we're going to get rid of the lines around the states. We're going to get rid of the lines around the states for the insurance companies. They say that like as if it would lower prices. It wouldn't. What would happen is the insurance companies would just go to like a low-tax state like Delaware, all park there, and just so they could pay lower taxes and increase their profits. But they'd, charge the same for whoever they're offering healthcare to, wherever they are, right? So it's like, again, they have nothing. Can we be honest here? Trump is going to do nothing on healthcare, right? The Democrats, and I have so many criticisms of the Democrats on healthcare in particular, but the Democrats have consistently, since Obamacare was passed, added more and more to Obamacare and funded it more and more over the years. So you still get an increase in millions of people under every Democratic administration of people having healthcare. That's what's happened. Now, look, at the very least, I would like a public option. In reality, I would like a single-payer universal healthcare system. They're not running on that. That sucks. Pisses me off. I wish they were running on Medicare for all. But the comparison here is, do you want a Democratic administration that'll give 10 million more Americans health care, right? Or do you want to go back to a Trump administration where 2 million Americans lost their health insurance under Trump, 2 million Americans, and they'll get rid of your protections for pre-existing conditions as they lie and say they're keeping it? I'm working on this theory now, guys. I gotta think more about it, but it's this idea of like, Republicans are now fully postmodernist. And what I mean by that is they don't believe in the Enlightenment and objective truth. They've now fully been immersed in this world of, it's not about the truth. It's about my truth, right? Like everything is subjective and I have my truth and I live in this right-wing online bubble where we lie to each other 24/7 and jack each other off, but that's my truth. And that's what the Republican Party is now. It's a cult built around Donald Trump and they don't care about the truth. And so I think Tim Walz did a great job here, but what I'm trying to do is give everybody the ammunition to understand the deeper picture. And what people need to understand is, not only did Trump try to overturn Obamacare a number of times, he also did his own healthcare bill in 2017, tried to get it passed and failed. It was called Trump Care. It had an 8% support in terms of the American public wanting to pass it, and it overturned protections for pre-existing conditions. So J.D. Vance has to answer for that. He has to you said yes to being the running mate for a person who tried to overturn protections for pre-existing conditions, then you lie and tell people, we're going to protect pre-existing conditions. Okay, well then why did he try to overturn it last time? You don't have an answer for that because you're wrong. He doesn't give a shit about it. He doesn't give a shit about protecting pre-existing conditions. He's a liar and he lies all the fucking time, right? Just like J.D. Vance lied about his abortion position, just like he lied about the manufacturing jobs record. So anyway, there you have it. That's your breakdown of the debate. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Like I said, just to recap real quick, and we're going to do a full breakdown on the polling numbers tomorrow. Don't miss that. I'll give you all the information that we have in terms of who won, etc. But my general breakdown is, on style, I think J.D. Vance was better. On substance, I think Tim Walz was way better. Ultimately, I think it's kind of going to be a wash. I thought going in the VP debate doesn't really matter. I think afterwards the VP debate doesn't really matter. But to the extent there were any moments that potentially did the most damage, it was the two parts where J.D. Vance shit the bed. Those were the worst parts. It was on election denialism, the 2020 stuff, and it was on abortion. And that seems to be what people are talking about the most today. And like I said, I don't think this will have much of an effect on the race either way, but it certainly goes to show you that we're still out in la-la land in the sense that the Republican Party still can't state the obvious, still can't tell the truth, still are shooting themselves in the foot by leaning into an issue where they know everybody disagrees with them and everybody hates them. This is why Republicans underperformed in 2022. It was abortion and it was the election denialism. 51% of the midterm candidates from Republicans were election denialists. That has consequences. And there you have it. So, all right, guys, everybody do me a big favor. Please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Means the world. Deeply, deeply appreciated. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. Thank you to everybody who tips on YouTube as well. That's awesome, and couldn't do it without you guys. We don't take any money from billionaires or from foreign governments or any shady sources, unlike a lot of other people in this space. As I told you, I don't really call it independent media anymore. I call a lot of those people new corporate media, because that's what they are. This is actually true independent media, where the funding is from you and the default ads on YouTube, where I've never had a conversation with any advertiser ever. I believe we have Jeremy Scahill on Crystal Kyle and Friends this week. You're not going to want to miss that. All right, I love you guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Got a lot more to talk about tomorrow. See you there. Peace. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.